Uprisers, hi, it is Tricia LaCroix once again with Sacred Uprising Institute, awakening the consciousness of infinite love. And today we are going to be speaking with Laurie Green. She has been doing her series on From Tradition to Truth. And today she is going to be discussing the evolution of truth. So while I wait for her to jump on the camera, I'm going to go ahead and once again talk about our convention that is going to be taking place September 18th, 19th, and 20th. If you want to see what the venue looks like, you can go to Mount Madonna, and that's MOUNT, Madonna.org, and you can check it out. You can see they have a temple there. There's beautiful from cabins to dormitories, and we are taking over their actual convention center where we will be able to have all of our wisdom keepers that you get to meet here on Sacred Uprising, and you can spend time with us, and we will be doing teaching and speaking. We will have shamanic journeys. We will be doing meditations at the ocean, and we are looking to make this just an amazing uprising experience for everybody. So let me touch base on who is going to be coming on tomorrow. We have Bliss at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and she's going to continue her series, The Conscious Evolver, and talk about reconstruction and planning. Then at noon Pacific Standard Time, we have Terry. She is our energy healer, and she is going to be discussing forgiveness, learning to forgive ourselves. And isn't that important? And then we have Lisa at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Dr. Lisa, and she will be discussing everyday sacredness, my body is a temple. So look, we have advertising for it. We're putting them on our Instagram account. So if you want to follow us on Instagram, just look up Sacred Uprising, look for the peony. You can keep, here, let me just add Laurie before I go any further. So go to our Instagram for Sacred Uprising, and you can see what the lineup is there. Hey, Laurie, how are you? Yeah, you got this new beautiful lanyard necklace you got on right now.
Taking it off.
I knew you'd want that off.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. So then you can follow us on YouTube, and that's Sacred Uprising. Once again, look for the pink peony, and you'll be notified when we have new videos out. Now, we always upload our videos within 24 hours of them airing, but we have started to upload new videos that are not live. So yesterday I did a video on how to pick out stones that resonate with you. Hey, Susan. So you can go there and get some just quick 5-minute videos that are done by me and others. So go over and subscribe. We also are trying to get a hold of Sue Moulton. I finally was able to find her on Facebook, sent her a message. Sue, if you are watching today, please respond to my message so we can get that beautiful quartz crystal shipped out to you. So, Laurie, okay, here we go. We are talking about the evolution of truth.
Yes, and this is another rich one to me. First of all, hi to everybody who's watching. I see you out there. Thank you for joining us today. I'm so excited to have you here and with all that's going on, and of course, Tricia, just love being with you. But last week we talked about truth and what truth is, and some ways about being able to get established in our own truth. So if you've not had a chance to watch that, I would encourage you to go back and do that. I will post the link to that last one with this video in addition to my contact information, and you can find it on the YouTube channel. Please subscribe to the Sacred Uprising YouTube channel so you won't miss anything. You'll get notified when things are uploaded, and you'll also have access to all of our other wisdom keepers, which will be really good for you. So I encourage that. Yes. And before we get started, I want to mention that the secret word today is hunger. So when I mention the secret word throughout the course of this live video, all you have to do is type hunger as a comment, and you will receive a 50-minute free session with yours truly, me, myself, and I. So be listening for that word hunger coming up. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about spiritual evolution. So it's interesting. And I know that this word evolution is a trigger word probably for a lot of people. But I'm using that word because evolution is something that occurs naturally. It is a natural occurrence in nature, and it's actually a natural occurrence that happens to us as well. So I want to make that likening because I think that we understand, at a physical level that our world is changing. We often understand that as we educate ourselves on different things that we're changing, right? And that's a form of evolution. And if we study, we can study animals and see how, changing their environment very often changes their appearance in the interest of their survival. So I use this term because I feel like it's something that we can relate to in that respect. And because if we can understand that evolution just occurs naturally, then of course, why wouldn't spiritual evolution also be an occurrence in our lives? As we grow spiritually, as we deepen our spiritual walk and our journey, then yes, we evolve and we begin to change. And if you think about it, you probably have noticed this yourself with somebody. Like we've seen somebody from our past that maybe we knew a long time ago. And then we meet them now and something's just different. Something about their atmosphere has changed. Something about their energy is different now than what it was before. So we feel this palpable change that has occurred in them. I call it a spiritual climate. Like their spiritual climate has changed. And so in the same respect, as we move and as we grow, our spiritual climate evolves, and so do we.
Haven't people stopped you and said you're so
Oh,
different than when? Yeah, I got that as well. People who knew me
oh,
10 years ago are like, you are
yeah,
not the same person.
I am not the same person. And very often, in fact, there are people who don't even recognize me. Like I'll see them and I realize they don't even know who I am.
Right,
Um,
yes, I've had that as well.
they're like, I don't even know
Absolutely.
who you are. There's something that's just different. And whether it comes across as being more, I've heard it described in different ways. You just seem more vibrant. You seem more vibrant right now. Somebody recently said to me, you actually look younger than you did like 10 years ago. What it, Sure.
Yeah, isn't that the
It's,
truth? Yeah,
it's
I
just
look in a
it's a
picture.
perception.
Yeah, and I look younger. Yeah,
Yeah, it's just this perception that occurs because what they're seeing is something's different. Like you've
right.
changed, right? And so I've evolved from the person that I was then into this being that I am today. And I anticipate that I will evolve next year into someone other than who I am today. None of it's wrong. None of it's bad. Who I was 10 years ago was still part of this spiritual journey. It was just a different aspect of myself that was coming to the fore than what's coming to the fore now. So it's all okay, right? To be able to move through the process wherever we're at. And that's why I always go, finding your truth and understanding your truth and the evolution of your truth is not necessarily going to look the same as we've talked about as the evolution of someone else's truth and finding their truth. And it's all right and it's all good, like regardless of where we're at on that path. It's all part of the divine whole plan of where we're moving to, which is back to ourself, which I think is the basis of what Courtney was just talking about. I really enjoyed what she was saying in respects to the fact that, yes, we're here for this experience to really come back to who we already are, right? And
Right.
so as we are moving through this process of truth, that is part of what is happening for us in our lives, regardless of where we're at on that path. And once we are able to understand and know that, then it becomes a lot easier, I feel, for us to be able to embrace and follow our truth as we know it today and accept that and not feel the need to push ahead to anything differently, just being in the truth as we have and know it today and accepting it, but yet be open to the truth of tomorrow. Right? So
Yes,
we want
yes.
to be fully with our truth today and be open to the truth of tomorrow. As we're present with our truth today, as we're present with our truth today, then that allows us to be grounded in faith. Because part of the tagline that I put was faith and fallacies. And the reason that I say that is because I'm sort of a word, nerd, as one of my friends recently said, and you probably already know by now if you've been listening to me. But this word faith Back when I first started reading the Bible, there was this scripture that always, this verse that always stuck out to me. And now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. And, when I first read that, I was like, I don't understand what that means, right? So I sat with it for a long, long, long time. And it began to have various meaning to me. But what I have come to throughout this process, like initially, I didn't get it. And then probably like 15 or 20 years ago, it became, oh, okay, so faith is the substance. Substance is tangible. Substance is tangible, right? And our faith is based in what our truth is at this time. So substance is tangible. So faith is the substance of things, again, a tangible thing, hoped for. And I had to go back and look at that word hope and found out that fundamentally what that word actually means is an earnest expectation. So sometimes when we say hope, we're saying it'd be nice if it happened. But if I'm using hope in its truest terminology, what I'm saying is that I actually have an expectation that it's going to happen. So if I say that faith is the substance, the tangible thing of what I'm expecting to happen, and the evidence of things not seen, again, evidence is proven. Evidence is something that I can tangibly rely upon. So if my faith is based in my truth, then what that means is that faith is something substantial that I have an expectation for, that I have evidence for, that I can stand on it. And therefore, by my ability to have that level of groundedness in my faith, then it's not shakable.
Right.
My truth is now not shakable, right? It's not based now on something that I've been told. My faith, what I believe and what I stand on, is moving beyond a belief into something that is now factual for me. And so therefore, even if somebody else doesn't agree with it or they are not in alignment with that, that's okay. Because when I'm firm and solid in what I have proven out to be my own faith, then I am able to allow them to be where they're at in their own faith. And it's all good.
Absolutely. It's, and that faith is as clear and as strong as I know at the end of the day, Charles is coming home. I may not know the moment he's coming home or the hour since he works late, but there's no question he's coming home. Exactly. And so it's knowing, it's expecting it. It is in excitement and anticipation for it. It is living and feeling, and with the vibration of that it already is. You're just awaiting its arrival.
Yes.
That's faith.
Exactly. You know that you know. And so when you know something that you know intrinsically based upon your own spiritual experimentation and what you've gone through, then it's not shakable to you. And that's why, as we're moving through this process, as we're moving from truth to tradition, as we're evolving in our spirituality, I always encourage people to record, journal it, write it down, paint a picture about it, do a recording of it, a voice recording, or whatever you need to do, because we've been so conditioned, and we talked about this last week, that our conditioning will very often cause us to question our own experiences or question what we have come to know and understand as our own truth, particularly when other people maybe don't understand what's happening or aren't in alignment with what our truth is at this time. But if we're able to go back and see what Spirit has spoken to us, then it allows us to be comfortable with where we're at, which, as I said before, allows us then to be comfortable with where other people are at, and that allows the opportunity for all of us to rise and all of us to move to wherever our next place of truth even is. So recording it, again, I always want to emphasize that is a good thing. And I'm going to go back to, again, following our truth today and being open to the truth of tomorrow. Because you and I have talked about this, that truth changes. I mean, truth changes. When I think about, and this is not just true in spirituality, right? It is true again, at a scientific level, what we knew to be true about polio 100 years ago is completely different than what we know to be true about it today. Or
Right.
what we knew to be true about cancer or not is different than what we know today, because as humanity evolves and moves along our process, we develop greater and deeper understanding. And with greater and deeper understanding, we're able to move deeper into what we're going back to. And that's on all levels. That's on all levels. Like it's not even just a spiritual thing. Like everything happens first in the spirit, and then it manifests in the physical. So wherever we're going as humans on the spirit level, it will be evident. It will be evident
Right.
on the natural plane. Because
Right.
that's just how it works. So being open to our truth today and being open to our truth tomorrow. And talking, and I want to go back to my truth before versus what it was versus what it is today. I'm sorry, I'm reading a note right here because I don't want to miss this. All will not make sense. Oh yeah, yes. So I wanted to say this, that back when I first started reading various spiritual literature, and of course the first one that for me, just for me, doesn't matter what it is for everybody else, but for me the first one was the Bible because that's how I grew up. And I remember the first time reading it through, it made absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. Like nothing in there made sense to me at all. And when I came back to it later, then things began to make more sense to me. And the same thing happened to me when I began to study Messianic Judaism. And I've taught you a little bit about that. But I remember, and I was a licensed minister at that time, so I felt like I had a pretty good handle on the scripture or whatever. But I remember going back and starting to study that before I started teaching. And I remember studying that, and I remember thinking, my head literally hurt. Like it hurt my brain because I just couldn't understand what the message was. But I knew intrinsically that I was supposed to get it into my spirit, even though I didn't understand it. And I can cite that again and again. When I first read A Course in Miracles, which is a great book, the first time I opened that book, I had to put it down because it just did not make any sense to my brain whatsoever. And I'm sort of going through that now with the Book of Knowledge. We talked about that. I'm reading that, but there's something in me that has led me to these things that lets me know that I need to get them in, even though I don't fully understand them. And so that's sort of how the evolution of truth can occur. Like we're drawn to something. We don't know why necessarily, but we feel. I just heard somebody. I read, I think, something the other day when somebody was saying something to the effect of they were talking about mantras and mudras, and someone was asking them about, well, what mantra? And in case you don't know, a mantra essentially is a vibrational word. It's a word that creates a particular energy vibration to put you in a particular state, and they're very effective. The most common mantra, of course, is the Om mantra. Almost everybody knows that one, but there's thousands of them, and they're technology, in my opinion, thousands of years old. But the reason I bring them up is because someone was asking, what mantra can I use for this situation? And the answer I thought was brilliant. The answer that this person gave them was, I don't recommend that you seek out a mantra. I recommend that you go to the mantra that is drawing you.
Yes.
And
yes. Is that not the truth?
Yes.
It is. It really is. And as
Yes.
I go through this evolution, new mantras start presenting themselves to me.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes, new mantras
Hi,
begin. Hi, Chrissy. Hi, everybody. Hi, Denadia. Hi, everybody. These new mantras, and that's how it happened with me too, right? We talked about last week how I said I had been drawn to Kundalini Yoga and knew absolutely nothing about it. And so I went to watch this video on Kundalini Yoga, and it just looked so bizarre to me to see these people sitting on a sheepskin wearing all this white. And I was like, this is not any yoga I know. Like, this doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. And I had to come out of it, but it never left me. And so I just allowed myself to move through the process of the evolution until I was able to come back to it and go, oh my gosh, this is like one of the best tools that I can find or use to be able to help myself move through this process that I'm moving through. And so it's about not necessarily going, I have to do this or I have to do that. It is more about what's leading you and the direction that it is taking you, and simply surrendering to what that leading is. And that will allow this process to unfold exactly the way that it's supposed to unfold. And again, emphasizing it's different for everybody. So,
Right.
my process over the last 20 years, even though we've had some similarities in our journey,
Yes.
but our processes don't look the same,
Right. Exactly.
they look different. And we're moving into this time. Go. Well, you looks like you want to say something.
No, what I was going to say is that, the truths are the same, but how
Right.
it's reflected in our lives is different. And so that's why another reason why you don't judge somebody's evolution, because the truth could literally be the same thing, but it is being brought into somebody's life and showing it forth in a very different way than your
Very
own.
different way. Yes. And you know what? That's what I love about this platform that we're doing, a sacred uprising, because we have people at various different places and having various different experiences in their truth and in their spiritual journey. And so as we listen to these different individuals, we're able to connect and understand where we are with the particular person that resonates with us. And so I think it's all the oneness. It's all the oneness. I think when you and I were talking over the weekend, I mentioned that I have been drawn back again to the Judaism that I used to study.
Yes.
And right now, the Shema prayer is just really, really been resonating with me. And for those who don't know, the Shema prayer is just about probably the most sacred prayer in Judaism. It's the one that says, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one. The Lord our God is one. Shema, O Israel, Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad is how it goes in Hebrew. And it is one of the most beautiful things because it's about the unity of the divine, of all the aspects of the divine as one. And I'm briefly going to say that word Adonai, when you study it, you will find that it is singular and it can be used as a plural as well. And so what it is talking about is the plurality of God, all that God is. Hear, O Israel, gods, the Lords are one. It's the unity of the one. And it's understanding that it's okay however we come to it. It's just getting back to it. So it's quite sacred and beautiful. And as we move through our evolutionary process, we begin to understand the importance, the beauty, and the sanctity of unity. And this is what is being exposed on our planet. Right now we're going through this evolutionary thing, that is in a lot of ways very painful. And for those of us who are aware of what's happening, we individually are going through this spiritual evolution where I hear this consistently. Right. This stuff keeps coming up. It just keeps coming. Like we're thinking, I'm ready. I've done all this work. I'm ready to go. And now this year, it's like, goodness gracious, where did you pull that out from? That now,
Isn't that the truth?
Where in the world did you pull that out from? And now that's coming up, and all of it is wonderful, even though it doesn't feel good. Even though we're seeing a lot of what's happening right now, we're seeing all the beautiful, messy of humanity happening around us and within us. And as Courtney said, I so agree that it is all part of this experience, so that we don't want to label it as good or bad. It would serve us well. I'm not going to tell you not to label anything. It would serve us to just allow whatever comes up, just allow, and in the same way, that's what we do with truth. Whatever comes up, whatever we're drawn to, we would do ourselves well to allow that to be whatever it is, and then move in that direction. And there becomes this hunger, like this deep yearning, hunger. So that's the word, hunger. So I almost forgot to tell you that. That's the secret word. If you type hunger in the comments now, you get a 50-minute free session with me. But as we develop this hunger that comes on within us, then we are able to continue in pursuit of what this truth and spirituality means to us individually, which contributes to the global or the collective of humanity moving into deeper and deeper truths.
Can I you just expound on that just for a moment?
Yeah.
So Dak was supposed to be on yesterday, and there was some technical difficulties. So he's actually going to speak about this next week. But what I found interesting, he was going to talk about we are each responsible for our own evolution, and I was like, huh,
Oh,
interesting, because you were talking about the evolution of truth. So when he and I were just chit chatting a little bit about it, I we look at those of us who were raised with the Bible.
yeah.
I've looked, and I've mentioned this before, but I want to dig a little deeper into this because I think this is beneficial.
Yeah.
Is that the God of the Old Testament is pretty much an asshole. I mean,
Yeah.
he's really an asshole.
I think yeah.
Yeah. So what was written, Noah with the ark, let's destroy the world because he
Right.
didn't like how it looked, or
Right.
Abraham sacrificing his son. Go ahead and kill your son just to show me that you love him. He was really an egotistical, narcissistic asshole and manipulator. So when so like 4 years ago, I was talking to people more on a friends, and I said I think God has evolved. God's evolved from the Old Testament to the New Testament, but I'm going to go a little bit deeper than that.
Yes.
Maybe God hasn't evolved. It's just we've evolved enough to know Him in His heart center. That when the people of the Old Testament, and I want to say this, the Old Testament is symbolism. I'm sorry, I don't believe in an ark, okay? I believe the ark was the Merkabah. I don't believe that the waters parted for Moses. I believe if you understand Judaism, you'd understand what the symbolism is. So I would highly recommend people do research, but that's my belief system. But that the people who were actually writing these stories, they were writing it on their understanding of what God was. And their understanding was based on their human experience, that women didn't matter, that it was was based on men and the masculine and the ego and who has the biggest farm and who had the most cows and all that. So all that was written based on they were assholes. Their human filter was they were assholes. So that's why God was shown in that light. I don't believe that God destroyed the city of Sodom and Gomorrah. I don't believe that. I don't believe that Lot's wife turned into salt. Maybe salt is actually the symbolism for bitterness. That she was bitter, that she had to leave. Once you understand the symbolism, you can understand what the stories actually mean. But again, maybe it's not God who evolved, because God is everything.
Yes.
It is our consciousness of what oneness means that is evolved. It is us understanding that we don't have to stand in fear and trembling and guilt and needing forgiveness.
Right.
We can stand in there in His light and be called fathers and daughters of God. Yes. That's what Christ came, what Jesus came to teach, to show us, no, they got it wrong. The Ascended Masters, they were amazing. Some of those, Moses is one of my guides. Enoch is one of my guides. Yes. But they got it wrong. Jesus brought it to say, no, this is what the all, the infinite, the I am, the Adonai, what it is. This is the love. This is how much He loves you. And let me be written into a love story just so you know how much you are loved.
And didn't he
that's
say
what it is.
Yeah, and didn't He say that repeatedly? The kingdom of heaven is like this. The kingdom, you're not getting it. The kingdom of heaven is like this. Okay, you're still not getting it. Like He consistently said that. And I want to back up and say, it doesn't. Whether or not anything that is written in any text, because personally I've read several of them, and I feel like if we are going to believe that the waters parted, if we want to believe that a woman turned to a pillar of salt, then it's just as easy to believe, or that a donkey spoke on a mountain, it's just as easy to believe that a woman's hair could be snakes, and if you looked at her you would turn to stone. It's just as easy to believe that a man could hold up the earth, right, Atlas. Any of those stories, they're all the same. So if we're going to believe one group of those stories, then we should be open to all of them. Yep. But the reality is, whether we believe it happened or not is not the message of what was being given to us. It's what you just said. in the end, and I would agree with the evolution of humanity. We want to remember when we are studying, if we're going to study, when we are studying, that we are studying through, as I've said repeatedly, the filter of a man. You know, even as you and I are speaking, we are speaking through the filter of our current understanding. We are speaking through the filter of our current truth. The filter that I would have spoke to you about this through 15 years ago was a completely different filter.
Right, right.
and,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
it's
You're
completely
exactly
different
right.
filter. And it's highly likely that the filter that I'll be talking to you in 15 years from now will be completely different than this one. And
Right.
that is why it is important for us to prove and move through this through our own way and our own truth and what resonates with us. Leaving others to theirs and to have their experience, but moving through our own truth and our own resignation. And I will say this, that truth is something that we feel. You know, it is something that we
Right.
feel. And going back to the sheepskin, I will tell you that when I first bought one, you know, not completely understanding, but just my heart was like, well, I want to do this. I'm going to go in and get the things, you know. That sheepskin has energy on it. It has energy on it that was palpable for me. And so I knew there was something for me in that. You know, I've heard people talk about being drawn to stones and being drawn to something, and that there's something. So I want to say this too. If you are drawn to a particular thing, a book, a person, a teaching, an object, if you are an animal, if you numbers, you know, if you are drawn, sacred uprising, if you are drawn to something, because people are telling me they
Thank you.
are, right? So if we
Right.
are drawn to this, it is because there is something in it for us, of truth for us. And so we want to, again, just allow that to be what it is. It serves us to not try to label it or explain it. You know, the more we move through this and the more we understand, the more we realize that we don't understand anything at all. And
I
part
know.
of the comfortability is, or part of the ability to move through this smoother, is being comfortable with the fact that we just don't know so much. Like we know nothing. I mean, we just, you know, we don't. I mean, that's just true because it's infinite. So as much as we know, there is a new knowing behind that, and a new knowing behind that, and a new knowing behind that. And as we begin to move through and understand that, it allows us to be comfortable with the fact that we can say, you know what, I don't know. I don't have all the answers, you know. And it also allows us to allow other people to be wherever they are. We are all students and we are all teachers. You know, we are all students and we are all teachers. And so if we understand that, then we can recognize that our teaching can come from anywhere. It can come from
Right.
anywhere. You know, the greatest teachers are always, 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 always also the greatest students.
Well, and that's what Bob teaches, and what he told me. It is the masters who are the servants.
That's right.
And
That's
so
right.
when you see somebody putting themselves on a pedestal, and basking in their riches of what they've done, especially when you're in something of service, no, it's the
Yeah.
masters who are the servants. It's not for us to sit on our thrones and to dictate on what truths are supposed to be or not supposed to be. It is our humble, and Jesus showed it. It is our honor to wash the feet
It's our
of
honor.
the students who are teaching us.
Oh, exactly. It is the students who are teaching us. As long as we understand and are open to that, then that allows our evolution to continue and to move
Right,
forward, right?
right.
There's no end to this stuff. It is truly, truly infinite. It is truly, truly infinite. I heard someone talking to me about how they were watching Ram Dass. And when I say Ram Dass, I'm talking about Richard Alpert, you might know him by that name, who is a spiritual teacher who started out in psychology, and he experimented a lot with different drugs or whatever because he was thinking back in the 60s and 70s they were thinking that these drugs would be useful in psychology, and so they did all this experimentation with that. And ironically, this path led him to India, you know, led him to, like, he left this wealthy upper class Ivy League student, and came back this spiritual person with a beard and the, you know, the clothing and the whole thing, which of course you can imagine completely threw off his family and his circle. But that's how the divine works, that it moves us through this past. He evolved throughout that entire process. And I heard somebody talking about watching him. He's at the end of his life right now. He's at the end of his life, and he has done a series on Netflix that I haven't watched, but I can tell you I would recommend.
Yeah, I just saw that the other day, and I put it on my watch list. Right.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he's wonderful, and I've been I have listened to him for years and allowed him to teach me many things. And I heard I was talking to my brother, in fact, and he goes, "Yeah, I was watching Ram Dass." He goes, "And you know what? He just looks almost like a spirit at this point, because when he speaks, so much of spirit is coming out of him." And I thought, my goodness, what a beautiful. Because the man's been through a stroke, like he's been through so much, all of it part of his evolutionary journey. And when I think back on having studied and not watched his life, I was very young, but having been aware of his life and where he came from being this young man who thought his life was laid out for him as a well-paid psychiatrist, psychologist, right? And that journey leading him to be who we call Ram Dass today, and who so many people respect and love. That is us. That is us.
Yep.
Whatever teacher it is, that is us. And we are them, and they are us. We are as much teachers as Jesus, as Buddha, as I'm seeing a face, I can't come up with the name, but as Ram Dass or any of those people that we highly respect. We are, no matter where we are on this journey, I just said this to someone this morning, no matter where we are on this journey, we are as much teachers as we are students. And the teachers are as much students as we are. It's all
I gotta tell you, I mean, with where I am with my journey and even doing Sacred Uprising, I have to study a lot more. I have to learn a lot more different, truths, and to incorporate it. It's about learning other languages of truth for me. So I am in constant studying and reading. So it never ends. And while I know there are things that I understand right now, I haven't reached the peak of it, nor will I ever. But there's still a long ways to go. And everybody, if we have the evolution of our understanding of the infinite, we also have the evolution of our standing of truths. We have the evolution of how we change in the seasons of our lives. It's all evolution.
Yes, beautiful. Thank you. So that's what I wanted to say today. So as we move through this process of just evolving, just embrace, accept, allow, be curious. I always say that. Yes, one of our greatest tools is our curiosity. Something rises up within us, and we are able to listen to that. The more that we're able to tune in to those little leadings, like you're drawn, your entire life have been drawn to something, and maybe now all of a sudden it occurs to you, I've always been drawn to this. What is that about? Being curious about those things and listening to those things and moving with it. Flowing with it, is how we begin to experience the depth of that evolutionary process that we're all going through. So yes, allowing and moving through that, listening, allowing ourselves the opportunity to be still at some point to hear that. And it'll begin to draw you in, is what will begin to happen. And that's the beauty of it. We think that it's us doing this stuff, but and it is, and a much deeper, it's the highest level of us.
Right.
It's the highest level of what we are, that we're getting back to, that guides and leads and directs us through these things. And it's our ability to always understand that we are students above anything else, no matter who we are. And that issue about what you just said, I want to come back to that too, about people on platforms, and as Thoth said to you, which is true, the greatest is the servant, and greatest isn't even the right word, but it's the only word he can give us, right? For us to get the concept of, as we've talked about repeatedly, there's no words for this stuff, for any of it, but we do the best we can to try to, make it make sense. and in their grace, they do the same for us. So yes, the greatest is the least here. And so as long as we understand that, we'll be okay. And as long as we understand that we do well not to put anyone people don't belong on pedestals. Statues do, because statues don't move. They don't speak. They can't mess up because they're not doing anything. But for those of us who are moving, flesh speaking, exercising it out humans, if you put us on a pedestal, you're
We're gonna disappoint you.
Oh,
Totally.
Lord. Look here, you put me on a pedestal and spend one day in my house, and you will understand what a huge, missing of the mark that was, because we're all human and we're messy and we do not belong on pedestals. We are not alone, right? So, but those are the things that you learn. But yeah, so if you have I don't think anybody has typed in hungry yet in the comment section.
Nobody typed it, so we will save that for next week.
Yeah, we'll use it next week or something else.
Yeah, we'll use it next week, yeah.
We'll do something else. But anyway, those are the things that I wanted to talk about in regards to the evolution of truth. I'm looking forward to what Daiquiri is going to say. I know you would.
Yep,
okay.
Yep.
I'm accessible to you anyway. But yeah, so what else we're going to talk about in regards to this? And I think next week we're talking about, if I'm not mistaken, becoming a beacon. Maybe it's what's next, so there may be one in between this and that. But anyway, everybody just stay tuned for that and for whatever else is coming up tomorrow with Sacred Uprising. Trisha, it's always such an honor and pleasure to be with you. I love you.
I love you too. And how do people get in contact with you?
If anyone wants to get in contact with me, of course they can contact me through my personal page, which is linked to this video. Also through liveinspiredhealingarts.com, which is the website. My Facebook page, Live Inspired Healing Arts, which you can connect through my personal page, and also my YouTube channel. All of that I will put in the comments after we're done here, so anybody can access me that needs to. So thank you so much, Trisha. I just have so much love and respect and joy with you.
I know. I love you. I love you to the moon and back. That is all the videos that we have today. My Tuesday is my quiet day. I only have 2 videos, but I am going to be leaving here momentarily because I am going to be speaking to a new wisdom keeper that is he's a hermit and doesn't really want to be on video, but I'm bullying him into doing video. So I get to talk to him today, and I cannot wait to I can't wait to introduce him because the wisdom that he has is unlike anything I've ever heard, and it's something that I need to learn from as well. So, Laurie, I love you. Everybody, don't forget about our conference, September 18th, 19th, and 20th. And next week, you'll be able to take advantage of the early bird special. So until tomorrow, when we start with Bliss at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time to hear her Conscious Evolver Reconstruction and Planning, have a great evening or a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow morning.
Thank you. Bye. Bye, everybody.
Okay, bye.